So I recently depotted and decanted a ton of my makeup to make them mini so I could travel with them, and you guys seem to really like it, and I personally really enjoyed filming it. So today we're going to be talking about how I decanted all of my go-to skincare for travel. And this is also a really great way to use up every last bit of your skincare because putting it into smaller containers is a little bit more effective than, say, cutting up your products, because that can increase the likeliness of your formulas getting exposed to air and then becoming more contaminated. I thought that it would be very fitting to start this video with an update on the mini makeup after taking it on a 4-day travel trip. Just like in the mini makeup video, if you guys have not already seen it, I will link it down below. I feel like this is a great way to be able to travel with your go-to skincare products. And for me personally, that is very important. I am very acne prone. I am more oily, so I have a lot of needs when it comes to skincare, more so than my makeup. So this allows me to bring my go-to skincare products, even if they're not available in minis or travel sizes, because sometimes if I go in with a mini or travel size, whenever I'm traveling, my skin will just freak out. This will allow you also to pack lighter. So whether you're just traveling with a carry-on or even if you're going to have a check-in, this just makes everything lighter and gives you a little bit more wiggle room. And lastly, I am being more mindful about my consumption, like I have mentioned, so I am able to use what I already have. So without further ado, let's talk about the makeup updates. So I have all of my liquid mini makeup products in this container. I went on a 4-day work trip to LA, and I also brought my compact powder and my cream palette. So first, let's talk about these liquids here. So first of all, the skin tint that we did from Deluxe, this one did incredibly well. I will say that it does have that brush tip, and while the brush tip doesn't splay out the same way that you might want like a foundation brush to do, this allowed me to put this onto the face before going in with a separate brush to blend it in. All I did was wipe off the brush on a paper towel after each use just to make sure that it didn't get gunky or anything. None of the product has solidified on there. Everything is still coming out pretty evenly, and I really enjoy this. I feel like I'm actually going to be able to get every last drop out of this skin tint cuticle pen situation. The airless pump containers, I very much enjoy these containers in general. If you're going to be decanting any of your makeup or skincare, again, I'm going to be able to use every last bit of it because you kind of crank it up. I haven't noticed any formula change, but I do think there are going to be some formulas that are more ideal for this container than others. So for instance, the Natasha Denona Serum Foundation, while it does pump it out very well, I do think that it is a little bit runny, so it does run out of the nozzle after I use it. It makes the cap a little bit dirty, and you can kind of see on the mechanism that pushes up the product, it is kind of seeping into those cracks and stuff. Unlike something like the bronzer where you can clearly see that there's no seepage onto that bottom portion where it's pushing up the product. This is definitely going to be pushing the boundary of what can go in here. I think more creamy, more substantial, I guess, liquids are more ideal for something like this airless pump container, but it's still pumping out fairly well. I do have to give it a couple of like pre-pushes before the serum foundation actually comes out, but other than that, it doesn't seem to be messing with the formula at all. I really had no issues with the Makeup by Mario bronzer that I decanted or the Merit primer. These seem pretty ideal in terms of formula for this container. Now this Decanted setting spray, it did really well, but I will say that I was a bit more hesitant with the sprays. I kind of felt like there was either a little bit of leakage going on, or after spraying it, the liquid was a little heavy, so it would like spray out of the nozzle a little less evenly. But I will say that I took the Decanted setting spray with me in my purse so I could just spritz my face and then blot away any excess, and it seemed to do pretty well. It didn't seem to like fully leak or anything like that. It was just something I noticed whenever I would pull it out of my makeup bag. I just felt like, you know, there was a little bit of liquid coming out. I'm not sure what that's about just yet. I'm still kind of testing it out. I know that's kind of annoying to hear, but that is the honest truth. So for our lip gloss containers, these were the most exciting to me whenever I was decanting my mini makeup. This just seemed ideal for concealers, any liquid eyeshadows, eyeshadow primers, you know, lip products, and I still think that they are great, but they do have their issues. So I noticed with the lip product and the concealer, they're perfectly fine, but I did have a little mishap. After that video, I did end up decanting a couple of liquid eyeshadows to take with me on my trip, and one of those liquid eyeshadows, the container actually broke. The twist portion of the bottle actually broke off onto the cap. I have a feeling it was because I was really twisting these shut to make sure that they were nice and tight and closed up so they wouldn't leak or anything like that. And I think that maybe the plastic just wasn't as strong as I thought it was. And also someone had mentioned in the comments of that mini makeup video that the plastic might have been reacting with the actual formula of the product inside, thus making it weaker, which is more prone to breakage. So that is also a hypothesis. But just so you guys know, I did end up having to toss that one before I traveled back home, but everything else seemed to make it. I did notice that whenever you're tightening back that lid, while you cannot tighten it too tightly because it may break, you also have to make sure that it is perfectly centered and aligned before you actually twist it, because if you don't, then you do risk the cap kind of being off center, which might also weaken the entire like twist portion of it. So that's something to keep in mind. I thought that was really interesting. It does seem like it still closes up pretty effectively. I haven't noticed any smells from my makeup products, any discoloration, any weird things going on. And I think it's very helpful that these are clear containers so you can really see what's going on with your products here. So I still really enjoyed traveling with these. I don't think that they are foolproof. I do think that you have to be a little bit careful with them, but I still would prefer this over traveling with the full sizes just because traveling with all this mini makeup was so convenient. Moving on to the powder compact, this one did really, really well. I was very happy with this one and also no complaints. Perfect amount of powder in there. I still have some that I did not end up using up during my trip. And I did actually take out that mesh top, so I was able to bake with my powder. It did so well. There's no spillage. It was not messy whatsoever. I love how thin and sleek this one is. I would love to see if there was other compacts that were even smaller than this one, but I'm not mad at it. I think that this is really perfect on the go, whether you're traveling or whether you want to stick a powder in your purse whenever you're not home and needing to touch up. I think I may actually do that from now on just because it's so usable and I really like this one. Onto the cream palette. You guys had a ton of questions about this and I was very curious to see how this would do, and I want to preface and let you guys know and remind you that all of the products that I put in here, I was okay with testing out the integrity of the formulas and seeing how they would do. I was not sure how any of these were going to do, but this was my very first time really depotting creams into a palette like this one, so I knew that it was going to be trial and error. So with that being said, I do have lots of thoughts about this. Y'all's very first question to me was, how do you get a brush into those tiny little pans? And I was also wondering the same thing, but really all I did was pick whichever pan I wanted to use. I would take it out and then I would hold it while I went into it with my brush. Definitely not mess free and maybe not ideal for some, but I really did not have an issue with it. I would just wipe my fingers on a tissue after using it and it was perfectly fine. It really felt like just going into the jars and the tubes the same way in that aspect, but I will say that I did notice some formula changes with some of them. I did notice when I first opened this, when I got to my destination, that there was some like oily film going on here. Now, just to let you guys know, I did add the Denesamyrix blurring balm right here in the corner after that mini makeup video, but everything else in here you guys saw me decant or depot. But I do think that the LYS bronzer and the M Cosmetics blush are the two that got the most oily, that were actually more affected with the decanting process. You might be able to see it right here, but they are a little bit like the tops of them do look a little greasy, a little bit oily. And I noticed specifically with the LYS bronzer when I was applying it while I was on my trip, it was getting very streaky and patchy and I wasn't sure why. I never have had that issue with this specific product, but after I realized that this one was getting a little greasy in the pan, that maybe the emollient ingredients were separating from the pigment, thus making it more oily and streaky and patchy on the skin. I think maybe that just has to do with the fact that I melted them down. If I had gone in with the actual formulas and just smushed them in there, didn't mess with it at all in that sense, maybe they would have done better. And that's definitely something that I'm considering doing for the next round. All the other cheek products seem to do really well and they're still doing really well. So maybe think about how heat is going to affect the formulas that you're putting into these little cream palettes. Now let's talk about the eyeshadows. I have two eyeshadows in here, the Kulfi and the Charlotte Tilbury one. So the Charlotte Tilbury one is doing really, really well in here. It's still very moussey. It's still very malleable. you can see that it's still giving off a lot of pigmentation, and it spreads really nicely, very evenly. I did use this a couple times on my trip and I was very happy with it. It performed pretty much the exact same way that I remember it performing in its original container. Now the Kulfi one definitely dried out, and this one was a toss-up. I knew that from the get-go, but the top half of this did get very hard, and I think all of it overall just hardened. I did attempt to use this on one of the days, and when I did, it just went on very crumbly, really almost wrinkly on the eyes, so I did end up taking it off. So I don't think the Kulfi shadow is going to be one that I'm going to be decanting again. Overall, very excited to continue to play with this, continue to play with the different creams that are going to go in here. I am noting down the things that are doing well and the things that are not doing well, so I know for future reference. And I still do have a lot of these little metal pans, so I've got a lot of testing to do. So those are all the makeup updates. If I miss anything, if you guys have any additional questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'd be more than happy to chat with you guys about that process and about my findings with it. So let's now move on to decanting and depotting my skincare. So like in our last video, I do have a couple of notes before we actually get into it. So decanting and depotting skincare is very different from decanting and depotting makeup. So skincare, the formulas are more volatile than makeup will be. I found out that a lot of these products are going to be packaged in certain materials based on the formulas. So for instance, a lot of active ingredients have to be in specific containers because either they can't be exposed to light, to air, and they're put into these packages to preserve the products to the fullest. So for things like retinol and vitamin C, those can't be exposed to light as much. And SPFs can actually react to different plastics, which will render them less effective, and so much more. So with this in mind, it is even more important for me that the sizes of these products are customizable. Filling your own containers means that you can put just enough product for any amount of time that you're going to be gone. And I would really recommend with your skincare, if you're going to be putting it in smaller containers, to practice before your trip. Put them into the containers, see how many days, how many uses each one kind of gives you, and then customize it from there. That way you'll have a better understanding of how much product to actually decant. And unlike my mini makeup that is meant for my trips, my skincare, once I come back, I will use whatever is left in those containers first. The reason being is because the longer they're in these containers, the more likely they're not going to be as effective. So I want to make sure that I use everything up, and of course before any other trip, because at that point it may not be good anymore. Also, 2 more notes and then we're getting into it. Make sure that you clean all of the empty containers with alcohol, rubbing alcohol. I did do this with the mini makeup. I did do this with the mini skincare. I didn't film it, but I made sure to spray everything down, wipe everything down, make sure that everything is good, because it gives your products even more of a chance to actually do what they're supposed to do. If you reuse containers after cleaning them out, I do recommend trying to use that same product in there just to decrease any chemical reactions with other products. Okay, let's begin. So here is my toiletry bag. I have this one from Desi Skin. It is actually a very spacious bag. I wanted to show you guys all of the different pockets and compartments and stuff. And I wanted to start off with showing you guys all of the products that I typically would take on a trip with me in their full size form. Some of these, like this really big Prequel cleanser, I will already go ahead and put into a smaller container, but just for the visual, just so you guys can see what we're using here, I did go ahead and fill this, and you can see that pretty much every area was utilized. I think having a very good toiletry bag is very important to me. This is actually a newer one to me. I had been using the same toiletry bag for years and years before purchasing this one this year. I do really like it. I will say though that sometimes the zippers do tend to get stuck on the fabric on the inside, so that's a little frustrating. And then the zippers themselves are kind of squared off on the corners, so they can kind of get stuck. I'm still getting to know this toiletry bag. I know that might sound silly to some people, but for me, when I travel, I need my tried and true things. So this one has gone on, I would say 2, maybe 3 trips with me so far, and it's good. It does its job, and I do like the size and the shape of it in terms of packing it down. So you can see all of my toiletries definitely take up every little bit of this bag. My skincare is definitely extensive, and I'm not as flexible when it comes to my skincare because, again, my skin likes a routine. I like a routine. So when we're out of our daily routine and traveling, my skin still needs its usual routine so it doesn't freak out. So I pulled out this clear pouch, and this is essentially what I used whenever I went on my trip. Full disclosure, I did already decant and depot a couple of skincare products for the trip that I went on previously, but I'm redoing it for this video for you guys so you can do it with me. And everything we decanted actually went into this little clear pouch. This is really nice because it is velcroed into the toiletry bag and you can take it out. You can use just this instead of taking your entire toiletry bag into the bathroom if you don't want to do that. Everything fits so perfectly in here, and I wanted to show you guys every product that went in here compared to its full size. Pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. It's always so interesting seeing these full-size products going into minis. I think it's so satisfying. So let's talk about my personal packing preferences. So some things I will be putting into mini containers, but other things I kind of prefer just taking in a travel size or mini version. So for instance, shampoo and conditioner, I will wash my hair every few days, so it never makes sense to take a full bottle of shampoo conditioner. And even then, it doesn't really make sense to me to bring like a travel size bottle or something. I like using these little sachets. I got this one as a birthday gift from Sephora. You can get these a lot with like gifts with purchases. You can purchase them at different retailers. And I also believe that you can get empty versions of a very similar container here on Amazon, and if I can find that, I will link that down below for you guys. I'm definitely considering doing that for my shampoo and conditioner moving forward because I really enjoy these like sachet type of shampoo and conditioners. Other options are these little sachets that you can get with, again, gifts with purchase, free samples and stuff. I get a lot of these whenever I make online Sephora orders or online Ulta orders. I will always peruse and see what the free samples are, and if they're things that I already really love, I will add them to my cart for free because then I know I can take them with me on any given trip. And sometimes with the anxiety that I have, I will bring these sachets even if I have like the actual product in a different container, just in case I run out of that product for some reason. Do be mindful though that these will expire, and sometimes the formulas can get a little weird and coagulated inside of these sachets. Most of the time they will have expiration dates on there, so you'll know before your trip if they're still okay to travel with. A lot of these are going to be more 1 to 2 time uses versus multiple, so keep that in mind if you're going to go on a longer trip than like an extended weekend type of thing. And lastly, I do like to keep these like travel size or deluxe size versions of products that I already really love, like my hypochlorous acids from Prequel and Tower 28, my Tear toner container, and my body washes, and sometimes some moisturizers too. I will always keep these, and I just keep them in my toiletry bag underneath my sink. I do prefer a cleansing balm versus a cleansing oil when I'm traveling, and most of the time I will keep my cleansing balm containers and I'll just refill them with the same cleansing balm or a separate cleansing balm after cleaning it up. For this particular trip, I did just bring this one and it was really great. And something to note is, as far as sunscreen goes, I did end up decanting a sunscreen for the previous trip that I took, but going forward, I will be using mini versions of my sunscreens because I heard that they can very quickly lose their effectiveness if you decant them, and I just don't want to risk it. And I do always get like very small SPF samples and stuff like that, so I may as well just stick to those. And like I mentioned, it's a really great way to use up the rest of your products. So for this moisturizer, the full size actually broke on me, so I ended up decanting it into this smaller version versus just tossing the whole thing. And it came in like this sachet inside the original container, so instead of cutting that open and having the moisturizer exposed to air, I went ahead and put it into this airless pump, and I'm using every last drop of it, and I'm very, very happy with it. So the containers we used this time around, I did buy these reusable toothpaste holders. We use the airless pumps. I have my glass spray bottles, and I also bought 2 versions of little dropper bottles. And lastly, we do have our flip cap containers. I love these airless pump containers because they let you take everything out. They're very, very small. You can customize how much you put in there. These little mini dropper bottles I was very excited for, and I did buy 2 versions versions because I wanted to make sure with my dropper products that I kept the products in as similar of a container as I could, because a lot of my dropper products are going to be active serums. And I thought the frosted bottle would decrease the amount of light exposure as well as the amber bottle. For the most part though, when it comes to hotels and stuff, I will keep my toiletry bag in the bathroom or just tucked away, and it's not really exposed to any sunlight. So if you can help it, I would suggest that you do the same. I started off my decanting skincare journey with my Josie Marin spray, and this is just essentially a fragrance, but it is a little bit more of an oily fragrance. So what I did was put this into the mini spray bottles, and I just used this clean pipette, and I unscrewed the fragrance and I put my pipette in there and I just filled it until it was almost full. And again, make sure that you test these containers out after you fill them to make sure that they are working the way that you want them to. And I also decided, instead of bringing the Tier mini toner, because this is already like 2/3 of the way finished, I wanted to go ahead and try to put it into a smaller container here. So I did opt to put this into a spray container. I have put toners in spray bottles previously, and it really is hit or miss. If the toner is light enough, it'll spritz really nicely, and sometimes if it's heavy, then it just won't. So I thought I would test it out to see what would work the best for this one. So I went ahead and used another clean pipette with this Tier toner. I kind of like stuck it into the stopper, and then I filled up the spray bottle that way, and then screwed it back in and tested out the spray. And I will say that this spray is quite heavy, so I think the milkiness in this toner is going to be a little bit heavy, but I'm still going to test it out on my actual face to see how it does. Again, trial and error. I guess we will see what goes on with this one. Next, I decided to tackle my dropper bottle. So the first thing is going to be my Caudalie Dark Spot Serum, which I'm using as my vitamin C serum currently. And I was looking at the container for this one, and I had the option again of the amber bottle or the frosted bottle. And I decided to go with the frosted bottle because looking at the Caudalie original packaging, it is in a frosted container type of situation. So I went ahead and I chose the most similar, which is going to be the frosted glass bottle. So all I did was shake this up. Make sure you shake up all of your skincare to make sure that everything is mixed correctly. And then I just took the original dropper from the Caudalie and then I dropped it into our smaller container until it was pretty much full. Really easy process. And I did the same thing with my salicylic acid serum. Currently I am using my Sunday Riley UFO serum. At first glance, I thought that this was a clear bottle, but then I was really looking at it and it actually has a little bit of like a green tint to the bottle, which I think effectively helps to make sure that the majority of the product is not contaminated by sun exposure. So I went ahead and I used the amber bottle because I felt like it was similar and I kind of want to see how this one does as well. So I did the same thing. I just unscrewed both of them and I used the original UFO dropper and I dropped it into that smaller container there and made sure that everything was working well, and it was. Everything was perfectly fine. Next, I wanted to bring my Crown Affair leave-in detangler. Sometimes I will bring a spray version, but this one I am actively trying to use up because it has been in my collection for almost a year now, and I really want to get the most out of this one since it is a more pricey product. So I took an airless pump container and I decided to do this one a little bit differently just to see how I can fill this. You can do this one of two ways. There is one way that is more recommended than the other, and we will talk about that. So I went ahead and I popped that little cap off of the bottom and I pushed the stopper thing all the way down and out. And I decided to actually fill this container from the bottom versus filling it from the top, how I have previously. I felt like this would be a pretty easy way and I just wanted to test it out. Now, while this was easy, very easy and simple to actually fill the container, it got a little bit more tricky whenever I was trying to get the air out of the container. So once I put the stopper back in, there was an excess amount of air, and with these airless pumps, it has to be airless in order for the product to come out. And because I trapped air in there, I had to find a way to get it out. So I did flip it right side up and I kind of shook it around before pumping the actual product out. And as I pumped it, the little stopper was going up, but this can cause some product to accidentally pump out, which is what happened to me. Not a huge deal, but you know, if you want a mess-free option option, then you may not want to fill it from the bottom and you may want to go ahead and fill it from the top like they suggest. Lesson learned. Going forward, I went ahead and I did it the other way around. Next is my eye cream. I have been using my InBeauty Project Extreme Cream Eye Cream religiously, and I found out while doing this video that we are actually out of this tube. I was like, what's going on? So I actually unscrewed everything, and by the way, this is refillable. You can buy just the refills for this and keep the bottle, but I opened it up and come to find out this is also an airless pump container. I used up every little bit of this. I did previously decant this eye cream, so I just took what I had in my previous decanted container and I pumped it into this new one for you guys just so you could see, and that was it. So we had the rest of this eye cream in our small container. We're going to be able to use every last drop, and I'm very pleased with that. Next is my morning facial cleanser. So this is going to be the pre-cleanse cleanser. So this has salicylic acid in it as well, which is perfect because you guys know my love affair with salicylic acid. I will typically put it into a squeeze bottle like this one that I have already, but because I want to test out my even smaller containers to see how they do with my cleansers, I thought that we would use our flip cap container this time around. So in order to do this, I did use a syringe that I have that came with one of the containers. I can't remember which one. And I pulled up the product into the syringe, and then I just stuck the little nozzle inside our flip cap container and then pushed it that way. Now, because this is a bit of a thicker jelly texture, it was a little bit harder to fill the container without it kind of splooshing out of the top of the flip cap. So it was definitely very messy. It's not a deal breaker or anything, but I will say you kind of have to like make sure that you squeeze the little bubbles out, kind of pat it on the back of your hand to really get all of the product down. It's going to vary with every cleanser. This is just such an interesting, very unique texture for a cleanser. So I thought I would note that in case you guys are interested to see how this one did for me. So we took this ginormous cleanser and we got it into this small little flip cap that I'm very pleased with. Moving on now to our toothpaste. So these are toothpaste containers, reusable ones from the brand Matador. I got this at the Container Store, and you get a white tube and a black tube. One of them holds a week capacity of toothpaste, while the other one holds 2 weeks capacity of toothpaste. And the way this works is it has a clip on the top. So you essentially flip down the tube and then you clip it down. And I was thinking, this might be a little messy. Like I could definitely see this coming off and the product leaking out. But to be quite honest with you guys, with the white tube, I could not get it off. It's really like cinched in there. I actually had to have my husband come and take this off for me, and even he was struggling. It was very difficult. So I have a lot of hope that this is actually going to be a really great way to seal this down. And the reason I bought this specific Matador brand is because when I was researching online, this seems to be a lot of people's go-to when it comes to refillable toothpaste containers. Now I know that there's a lot of different tiny little Crest and Colgate and whatever brands of toothpaste that you can just buy for 99 cents at the store. But you guys know that if you are viewers of my channel, the Boca toothpaste is my ride or die, is my absolute favorite. It is something that helps with the health of my teeth, so I cannot travel without it. So once we struggled with that little seal and got it off, I went ahead and filled up my toothpaste tube. But come to find out, again, I am pretty much down to the last bit of my Boca toothpaste. So I took out this massive toothpaste squeezer that I purchased, which I will link down below for you guys. But I have been loving this for any containers that you can like really squeeze the last bits of product out. It's so satisfying and it's very effective. So I went ahead and I squeezed that toothpaste out of there into our smaller container to make sure that I got every little last bit of toothpaste in there. And then I just kind of like squeezed all of the toothpaste down. Now this process was messy. I did get toothpaste coming out of the top there whenever I folded it down to seal it. But once I got the seal on there, I rinsed everything off, I washed my hands, and then we were good to go. We've got our refillable toothpaste container, and I'm very excited to test this out and give you guys my thoughts on it. I do have this Prequel moisturizer that I am testing testing out. So far so good. It's nice and creamy and it doesn't seem irritating on the skin. So I went ahead and I put this also in an airless pump container. And this one was easy. The nozzle fit perfectly into the opening of the pump container, and I just filled this up and I closed it up and it is ready to go. And the last product I decanted was my deodorant. So I've been using this Lumi Invisible Cream deodorant. I just recently, surprise, surprise, finished this one up as well. So I do have a brand new bottle. This one is in the scent Vanilla Bliss, which I love. It's so good. I took this into, again, an airless pump container because I did previously decant the rest of my previous bottle into one of these and it works really well. I'm very happy with it. You could go in with a flip cap container, but I really don't feel like I need that much product in one container. So I went ahead and I did the smaller version, which is going to be the pump containers. You can also buy a lot of deodorants, specifically Lumi, in small travel sizes. You can get these at different retailers. So that is definitely an option. For me, like I said, I want to use what I already have, and I much prefer the invisible cream versus like stick deodorants anyways, because they don't leave any residue and they don't irritate my underarms or anything like that. So that's a personal preference. I know a lot of people do just buy the minis of different deodorants and then they just keep them for all of their trips, which I think is perfectly fine. And I used to do that as well. All right, so let's look at the roundup of everything that we decanted today. These are all of the products that we went ahead and decanted. I'm very excited about this because, again, these are skincare products that I use every single day, and I was able to put them into smaller containers so that I can travel with them. Now, I forgot to mention that I do travel with a retinol and with a chemical exfoliant, and I am going to keep those in their original containers because I don't want to mess with the formulas. So I will have some full-size things here, but this is a great way to just downsize in general, especially if you're looking to pack lighter. So we have all of the smaller version of products here that I mentioned going into this clear pouch, as well as our body wash. And then I have my go-to things like my makeup remover, my eyelash serum. When it comes to aerosol products, I will just have mini versions of those. I do travel with a full size of my nighttime cleanser, which is my benzoyl peroxide one, just because that texture is just so finicky. It's very runny, and I find that it has to be in this very specific bottle in order to make sure that it just doesn't run and leak everywhere. I have my travel shampoos, I have my travel size body butter, the little toothpaste that we did, and my cleansing balm, and then all the other travel essentials I went ahead and I stuck in here. And you can see the difference between what we had before and what we have now. A lot less product, a lot more space, and effectively making your luggage a lot less heavy. We don't want to hit that oversize, you guys. Hitting that oversize is a big no-no. But there you have it, perfectly curated mini skincare to go along with our mini makeup. This makes me so happy. There is something that really itches something in my brain when it comes to decanting and depotting products that I love and I know we're gonna do really well, and just minis of things make me really, really happy. I hope I gave you some ideas. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna be linking all of the containers and everything that I use in this video in the description box down below, so make sure you check that out if you're looking for some containers yourself. I will also link the products that I mentioned in this video as well as in the YouTube shopping tab, just for your convenience of shopping. I do earn commission when you guys use my links and shop on my YouTube shopping tab, so I do really appreciate when you guys do that. I would love to know what you guys do when it comes to traveling and downsizing, and little tips and tricks and hacks that you guys have found throughout the years of traveling that you have done. I think having that conversation in my previous mini makeup video was so fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the update, and again, let me know if you guys have any questions about the makeup or the skincare. I will be linking our mini makeup video right here in case you guys missed it or are interested in seeing how I decanted and depotted my makeup, in case you were curious and want to know what I've been referencing throughout this video. But until next time, you guys, I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.